now available in paperback and e-readers. Spellbound, A Darker Shade of Black. Get your copy today at your favorite online bookseller. There are some social justice activists who want to make the claim that director Tim Burton is a racist. Now, these people who are social justice activists want to say that Tim Burton is a racist because his films feature predominantly white cast, and because his films feature predominantly white cast, they want to say that Tim Burton is a racist and want to use this as a reason to talk about and criticize the director for the way he cast his film. Now, this recent controversy is over his sequel to his 1988 film Beetlejuice, where Tim Burton basically has a predominantly white cast with the exception of Hispanic Jenna Ortega, and a sequence in the film, where Tim Burton has a soul train, which references the legendary 1970s up to the 2000s music show created by legendary creator Don Cornelius. And because Tim Burton only features the soul train is the only sequence that features black people, this is where some of these activists want to claim that Tim Burton is participating in a pattern of racism as related to the casting of his films since 1994. Now, these individuals want to say that back in 1994, this basically showed the pattern of Tim Burton participating in racism by casting his films with predominantly white casts. And what these individuals want to say is that because Tim Burton cast a black actor in the role of Oogie Boogie, a character that some want to say was a racist character based on a concept of racism from the South, that Tim Burton has been participating in a pattern of racism all throughout his films, looking to minimize and marginalize the images of black people in his films. Now, when I take a critical look at this whole claim of Tim Burton being racist from these activists, it basically looks like to me that these activists are participating in selective outrage regarding Tim Burton's catalog of work, because if someone were to take a look at Tim Burton's catalog of work, they would look at the 1989 film Batman, and in the 1989 film Batman, you can easily see that Tim Burton basically went out of his way to cast black actors in a film that would have definitely had a predominantly white cast all around by looking to cast Billy D. Williams in the role of Harvey Dent, who would have went on to become the villain Two-Face. Now, this casting of Billy D. Williams as Harvey Dent was not a race swap back then. No, this was something Tim Burton deliberately did in that film, because when it comes to films, two people have the ultimate decision over that film. One is the executive producer, and two is the director. And if Tim Burton would go out of his way to cast Billy D. Williams in the role of Harvey Dent, that basically shows that he definitely wasn't a racist, because that was a major role in that film and was a major part of the Batman 89 story. And for him to cast a black man back then, it was controversial, but he basically cast Billy D. Williams because he basically thought he'd fit into his vision of Batman at the time. Now, in addition to casting Billy D. Williams as Harvey Dent, Tim Burton also cast Marlon Wayans to play Robin, and while that footage basically wound up on the cutting room floor and Marlon Wayans was still paid handsomely for that job, it showed how Tim Burton basically looked to include black people in one of the greatest films of the 1980s and one of the definitive superhero movies, a film that basically would have been predominantly white if you look at the source material of old Batman comics. I mean, if you look at old Batman comics, the entire cast is mostly white outside of Lucius Fox, And that is done by design by the original creator because when it came to Bill Finger and Bob Kane, they grew up predominantly with, again, predominantly white people. And again, when it came to black people, they were basically in the roles of janitors and maids in that era. So a lot of people want to say Tim Burton is a racist for not casting black people in roles in other films, but I don't really see how he is a racist at all as related to his casting of the films, because he did make that effort to again put someone in Batman 89, and he also made that effort to again cast a black actor in Oogie Boogie. So I don't really see how he's a racist as related to his films. Now, in other films, I don't really see how black people would fit in organically into films like Sweeney Todd, the Demon Barber of Fleet Street. I mean, Sweeney Todd is an English story, and in an English story, I don't think that there were many black people in that land of England as related to that story. So I don't really see how people are getting upset, because when it comes to movies, movies are the director's vision, and there are many films that have been made with predominantly white cast. And are those directors racist for not looking to cast black actors in their films? Critical question I have to ask many of these activists who basically, as I see it, want to try to piggyback on the success of Tim Burton's Beetlejuice and hoping to try to create a covert contract where they can get themselves some DEI jobs. These people, basically, what they want to do is complain, oh, there's not enough black people in this film, and want to use this as a way to basically try to get themselves some token jobs. But when I look at these same people, I basically see how full of it a lot of them are. I see how full of it a lot of them are, because these same people who are complaining about Beetlejuice not having any black people in it, when it comes time to support goth and darkly inclined material similar to Beetlejuice that are created by black creators like myself, these people cannot be found to support that material. Now, back in 2015, I was working on a book that featured a black goth character in the book Spinsterella, and that book features a black goth character in a world that is very similar to the style of director Tim Burton. But as I was looking to publish and promote that book, didn't hear a single thing from many of these activists who sit here and complain about Tim Burton's movies not having enough black people. Here I am writing a book that is basically revolving around a goth character who is black, and a story that basically talks about goth from a black perspective. But we won't hear anything from any of the activists who want to sit here and make these claims about Tim Burton's films being filled with white people. I mean, here I am writing a book that features a multicultural cast with black characters in the lead. And this book has been on the market for 9 years, and I'm going to be celebrating the 10th anniversary of Spinsterella with the new book coming out next year called Spinsterella Goth Girl Summer. But you can't find any of these activists on my sales list who ever picked up this book. And this book was basically free on Smashwords for over a year, but none of these people who are complaining about Tim Burton are over here supporting Spinsterella. And again, that really shows me how full of it these people are, because people in the goth subculture went out here and were talking about Spinsterella on message boards and getting the word out about Spinsterella. And in 2016, when I did the prequel to Spinsterella called Spellbound about Matilda Crowley's baby bat years, there were goths on social media telling everyone that the book was coming out, and goths were actively going out here and picking up that book, showing their support for the Spinsterella books the same way they showed support for the film Beetlejuice that just came out recently and showed me how many people in the goth subculture basically show how they basically are really interested in supporting actual diversity of thought and wanting to show that the goth subculture features more than white people, because from many of the goths I have talked to online and watched their videos, they are eager to go out here and support black people being a part of the scene and the subculture, and many goths are again eager to support a product that features a character who is goth and black. But when it comes to these activists out here, many of these activists, they'll sit there and complain about Tim Burton, and they're complaining about Tim Burton films basically because these people want to clout chase. They basically want to go out here and clout chase and get attention for themselves, hoping to create a covert contract that they can shame people in Hollywood to give them a DEI job. But the whole thing is, most of people who are darkly inclined, like myself, who enjoy movies like Beetlejuice and enjoy the goth subculture, we know how full of it these activists are. We know how full of it these activists are as related to their claims of Tim Burton being racist. We know how full of it they are because, again, they are not actively going out here to support projects like I've done with the Spinsterella trilogy, with books like Spellbound, the legendary Mad Matilda, Spinsterella, and the upcoming Spinsterella Goth Girl Summer. I mean, these people, they have a lot of mouth about Tim Burton, but don't put their money towards products that basically show a black character in the goth scene, a black character who is, again, very similar to Lydia Deetz and Wednesday from the Netflix show Wednesday. I mean, here I am, a black creator who created a black character who is similar to those characters that these people complain are basically created by a racist. But you don't see any of these people showing up on Amazon to basically pick up this book and pay for it. Moreover, we didn't see those people 9 years ago when I had the first Spinsterella book out, and it was free on Smashwords. I mean, this book was free for close to 6 months on Smashwords, and many of the goths picked it up. Many of the goths picked it up and were basically felt so strongly they told people about it online. And the year after, when I started putting out Spellbound, and I did not offer Spellbound for free, many people in the goth scene came out and talked about Spellbound. And again, I can see the genuineness of people in the goth scene as related to black people and inclusion of black people. But when it comes to these activists who sit there and want to criticize Tim Burton, I don't see anything genuine about these people. No, I basically see how full of it these folks are. Full of it, and they're looking to try to make a virtue signal campaign. A virtue signal campaign where all they want to do is basically make Tim Burton, the white male, look like the bad guy, and try to make him look like the bad guy as related to the entertainment industry when he's doing nothing wrong, because many other filmmakers, they're going to make their films based on their vision and based on their stories. They're going to make their films based on their vision and their stories. And if you want to go out here and make a film that features black characters in a Tim Burton style, then what you need to do is go out here and find a black creator like myself, offer me some money, and make an adaptation of my material. But they don't want to do that because when it comes to these activists, one, they're completely full of it, and two, many of these activists wouldn't go out here and spend the money on the book. So if they won't spend the money on the book, they won't go to the movie. And again, these are the same people who, again, 9 years ago could have got this book for free, but again, show how full of it they are because they don't want to support a black creator making that material. No, what they want to do is go out here and piggyback on the success of Beetlejuice and the popularity of Beetlejuice in an effort to try to get themselves some attention and get themselves some clicks and views. And again, that shows how dishonest these people are, shows us all how completely dishonest these individuals are about so-called diversity and inclusion, because here you have a black creator like myself, again, creating something that is very similar to the Tim Burton style and is very similar to the whole concept of Beetlejuice with the Spinsterella series of books, but you don't see none of these folks showing up at all. No, you don't see none of them folks showing up at all. No, here's a book that basically features a multicultural cast. I mean, when I did the books of the Spinsterella series, such as Spellbound, The Legendary Mad Matilda, and Spinsterella Goth Girl Summer, I feature a predominantly diverse cast, but the lead characters are black, and the Matilda character, her parents, are a white man and a black woman. And also, I also feature, again, goths of different ethnicities all throughout the book. I mean, I have a Hispanic goth, I have a Jewish goth, I have diversity all throughout Goth Girl Summer and throughout the Spinsterella books, which feature, again, people from all different walks of life, but don't hear a thing from these people who want to go out here and criticize Tim Burton. I mean, what's really interesting to me is that they'll sit there and criticize Tim Burton over a 40-almost-year-old franchise and look to try to piggyback on the popularity of an almost 40-year-old franchise instead of looking to work on working with a black creator towards laying the foundation for a brand new series of franchise where they could basically, again, get in on the ground floor, and this could basically appeal to all of the younger viewers out there as related to making an adaptation. I mean, you could deal with, again, a younger audience and, again, reach those younger customers, but these activists, again, are completely full of it, because what they want to do, like many social justice warriors, what many social justice warriors want to do is go out here and make this claim, oh, this project is racist, this project is racist, so that they can, again, get themselves some sort of DEI job and then look to push their social justice agenda, which is equally anti-black, because what they do is race swap characters and go out here and and give you a character who's basically a color of a skin but has no content of character. And that really, again, is the thing that disgusts me, because they would rather put a black person in a hand-me-down Beetlejuice suit. I mean, go find some black actor and put him in a hand-me-down Beetlejuice suit and say, hey, here's black Beetlejuice, or here's black Lydia Deetz, rather than create original characters or work with creators who make original characters. And that, again, shows me how dishonest and disingenuous many of these social justice types are. Just shows me how disingenuous they are. They want to make claims of racism against Tim Burton as related to him not casting enough black people, when if you look at many of the movies in the 80s, they featured predominantly white cast. I mean, is the late John Hughes a racist for not casting black people in his films? Is the director of the film Adventures in Babysitting a racist for not casting enough black people in that film? I mean, these were considered classics of the 80s, and you want to talk about, oh, the director is a racist because they didn't cast enough black people. I mean, this is something that happened in most 80s movies, and again, we didn't blink about it because we also had people like Bill Cosby creating shows like The Cosby Show. We had guys like Robert Townsend making films like Hollywood Shuffle. We had people like Spike Lee showing us artistry in his films. And again, if we wanted to, we could take things to another level right now. But the whole thing is, many of these activists, again, while they sit here and talk about, oh, there's not enough black people in this film, well, that's Tim Burton's vision. And as I see it, Tim Burton can have his vision, but Sean James has his vision. And in Sean James's vision, yeah, I may take inspiration from Tim Burton to make characters that are in a dark, similar style to Tim Burton, but I would rather go out here and work on an original concept and build an audience around an original concept with a goth character that is black than be forced to see black characters in something they don't fit in organically. No, I don't want to see that at all, because I see that with many of these social justice comics and these shows like Batman Cape Crusader, which had the shoehorned Commissioner Gordon, had the shoehorned black Commissioner Gordon and Barbara Gordon, who didn't feel like they were a good fit. No, I'd rather just go out here and make my own original concept and have that original concept show you characters that are black in a world where we can see darkness from a black perspective. And that's one of the reasons why I put fingers to the keyboard for all of the Spinsterella books, is because I wanted to show darkness and the whole goth aesthetic from a black perspective and show how our culture is different from white culture, because I don't want to be seeing black people, again, tokenized and shoehorned. I want us to have our own stories. I want us to have our own stories that show us as having our own view of darkness. And that's what I put in my Spinsterella books that these activists know nothing about and won't even consider looking at, because again, they don't want to deal with a black man who's going to stand up for himself and stand up for his community as related to representation, because they don't like black men. When it comes to these activist types, they don't like black men like myself, because we will assert ourselves and insist things meet a certain standard. Moreover, these same people don't want to give money to a black man like myself and see a black man in control of the black image. They don't want to see a black man in control of the black image. They don't want to see a black man getting wealth from his IPs. No, what they want to do is give you some tokenized characters passively in a Tim Burton film and aggressively be able to control the black image, showing you the racism of these activists, ironically, who say Tim Burton is a racist. But these white supremacists basically show how racist they are on the left side of the coin of white supremacy, because they're not about looking to empower a black man and allow a black man to control the image of black people or control the story and the narrative of black people. No, they don't want to see a heterosexual black man like myself controlling the image of black people, but they'll sit there and make these BS claims about, oh, a Tim Burton film is filled with white people. Again, an almost 40-year-old franchise that's on its way out as related to the audience. I mean, if these people were genuine about so-called representation, they would be contacting me about creating a Spinsterella series or a Spinsterella movie and looking to reach a new audience of young people, because again, this book was published in 2015 on Amazon and again was free on Smashwords for almost a year. You would go out here and contact the black man who has the brand new concept if you're genuine about, again, representation, because if you really want representation, you go to the person who has a brand new concept, because the brand new concept is going to reach the young audience, not the audience that has one foot on a banana peel and the other on a grave on the road to the Soul Train. I mean, the median age of the Beetlejuice audience possibly is 30 to 40 years old. But the Spinsterella audience would have been a lot younger, especially if they were to have adapted Spellbound. I mean, if you were to have adapted Spellbound, this is featuring a 16-year-old Matilda Crowley. And again, this would have appealed to teens and tweens, and again, gotten you a brand new audience. But the whole thing is, many of these activists are just as full of it as the people at the studios, and they're not genuine at all. No, they're not genuine at all. No, they said they want to make claims of racism with Tim Burton, but don't see the racism they're participating in themselves. Now, if you want to pick up the stories that feature a goth character who is black in the Spinsterella series, you can find all three of those books that are currently in paperback and Kindle format: Spellbound, The Legendary Mad Matilda, and Spinsterella. You can find all three of those books on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format, and you can also find all three of those books in paperback format at Barnes & Noble and other online booksellers, and you can find digital copies available at online booksellers like Draft Digital, Google Play, Barnes & Noble, and big box retailers like Walmart and Target. And if you'd like to pick up the next Spinsterella book, Spinsterella Goth Girl Summer, that book will be available in 2025. Right now, I am working with an artist to basically make this into my interpretation of a light novel, and it will feature images similar to those that are featured in Japanese light novels depicting scenes and of the action. And that book I'm hoping to have out in 2025 for the 10th anniversary of the publication of Spinsterella, and I'm hoping you'll be there when I do launch that book coming soon. Now, if you want to help me be able to pay for the art in Spinsterella Goth Girl Summer or the covers of other SJS Direct books, or support the channel and the content, you can drop a donation to the Patreon, the PayPal, or the Cash App by clicking the links in the description box. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe. Now available in paperback and e-readers, Spinsterella. Discover the dark side of love in this goth and lovely romance with Spinsterella. Get Spinsterella in paperback and e-readers at your favorite online bookseller today. Now available in paperback and e-readers, Isis, Bride of Dracula. The Goddess Next Door and John Haynes team up to take on the dark vampire lord in this action-packed Isis series adventure. Get Isis, Bride of Dracula in paperback and e-readers at online booksellers today. Now available in paperback and Kindle, Vampires Stalk the Darkness of the Eternal Night. Get your copy of Eternal Night in paperback and Kindle on Amazon.com. Support Black-owned and Black-operated digital broadcast media. www.niceradionetwork.com. Nice Radio Network, broadcasting 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.